Hello? This mic on? Hello?
Steve.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth it.
Hello? Hello? Alright. Well, good evening, everybody. I know it's been a long wait, but it's hot in here. My name is Steve Gorman, and this is my wife, Chris. This is our wonderful Maltese dog, Lola, and I hold her because I'm afraid somebody will step on her. Anyway, welcome to our neighborhood. Welcome to our home. This is a great neighborhood. I love this neighborhood. We moved in here about 15 years ago, and we went to work on this house. It was run down when we bought it, and we brought it back up to where it should be today. And that's kind of where our government is a little bit right now. And it needs some work. But I'm ready for the Iowa Senate here in California. Yeah! When I talk to people on the front porch, I door knock. And I often speak about how our government needs to be a reflection of our neighborhood. And I live in one of the best neighborhoods in the world. Yay! And I want to just say to you, welcome to our neighborhood. And let's move Amy here from my house to the White House. Our senator from Minnesota, Amy Klobuchar. She's running for president.
That's correct.
Good luck.
Oh, thank you. And if you want to make sure that door stays open so people get a little cooler, if you can. Our staff can keep it open, that'd be great. So I just want to thank you all for coming. There's so many things you could be doing on a Saturday night in this holiday season, and you are here with me, and it just means so much to me. Thank you for that. We have been having a great time since that debate. We had a lot of fun. We had an after party, not as good as this, but we did. And then we got up at 4 in the morning, I did, and headed to Iowa. We did some morning shows, then went to Iowa, then did 5 counties yesterday, and now are on our 10th county today. Wow. My voice is fine. We've been having fun. We've been in our green bus. And we literally, and you guys have been so good, some of you, if you want to go see it, it's pretty cool. Yeah, well, I take pictures and things. But we have literally done now 15 counties. So how many counties are we in to all our counties? Maybe I have this. What? I know you have 99 counties. Believe me, I am aware. Yeah, we're at 85? 81. Okay, 81 counties. And it is a lot of what I'm talking about. We're calling this the All-American Tour because we want to be sure that we have a president that doesn't see herself. Yes. President for half of America, but all of America. So I wanted to mention our All-American All-Star cast here. In addition to Steve and Chris and their beautiful home, my good friend, Fran Carr, is here somewhere. Of course she's in the back. I see her. She came to one of the debates. She's fantastic and has been such a great spokesperson after the tragedy that happened in her house with the flood. She has gone there and not just rebuilt that house and in the course of rebuilding it, but really put her ideas into action to speak out on climate change. So I want to thank her for doing that. Also, your great state representative, Charlie McConkey, is here.
Right, Charlie! Hurst.
Okay, very good. Glenn Hurst, Iowa Democratic Party Rural Caucus Vice Chair. Jeff from the Iowa AFL-CIO Executive Board Member, endorsement. Thank you very much. Mike, the former Speaker of the Iowa House, is here somewhere. Where are you in the way back. Linda Nelson, thank you for your your endorsement, for the great work you've done for the state, for the great work you've done as head of Iowa teachers, and for being there when we opened our Council Bluffs office. And then finally, your county Democratic chair, where are you? Scott, you must be right there. I am just so excited to be here. Someone sent me a text and they had a bit of an autocorrect problem, and they said, congratulations on your insurgency in Iowa. I think they maybe meant surge, but that's okay. And a lot of this has had to do with, okay, that's quite an outfit. That is really something. Oh, my picture is on there. So for Amy, it's turn around, everyone there, it's a holiday. Taking photos of me with like the most wild holiday outfits, sweaters, and you will be in the photos. I promise you that. So anyway, what I said on that debate stage, I mean, I think that we have had outstanding and interesting debates, but the debate that we need to have is with Donald Trump. That is the debate that I want to have, because I cannot wait to be on that stage with him and say, you know what? You started your fortune with $413 million from your dad, basically over his life. That is what he got. Me, my grandpa was an iron ore miner. He worked 1,500 feet underground, and he saved money in a coffee can to send my dad to a community college. That was my family's trust. And I can tell you right now, you cannot save and put $413 million in a coffee can. But I figure everyone in this room, and we think about this a lot in the holiday season, was given some opportunity by someone, by a family member. They were given an opportunity because of a teacher that they had in their life, because of someone that they worked with, because of a neighbor or a friend. And I figure when you are given opportunity, you don't go into the world with a sense of entitlement, like this president does. Instead, you go into it with a sense of obligation. An obligation to lift people up instead of tearing them down. An obligation to lift people up instead of hoarding it for yourself. And that is the fundamental value difference that's at stake right now in this country. So on that debate stage, we have a lot of discussions. And we talk, understandably, as we should, about some differences between us on policy. But I am convinced there is so much more that unites us than divides us. That is number one. Number two, as we debate policy, we have to remember, the same time we're having those debates, Donald Trump is trying to dismantle the Affordable Care Act. And one of the cases I made on that debate stage, for a reason, and by the way, the Affordable Care Act is right now 10 points more popular than the President of the United States. When you have something like that going on, you know there's still issues out there with people's premiums and pharmaceutical prices. What you should do is make it better. And there is you come to a river, and you guys know about rivers in this area. When you come to a river of troubled waters, you try to build a bridge. You don't try to blow up a bridge, all right? So that is why I think we need to build on the Affordable Care Act. And that means that to me, and people can have differences of opinion on this, but to me, a nonprofit public option, which has been proven will bring down costs. It means taking on the pharma companies, which I have done since I have gotten to Washington, D.C. I lead the bill on allowing and unleashing the 43 million seniors in this country to negotiate a better deal under Medicare. Right now, pharma got a provision in banning them from doing it. I am the Democratic lead on the bill to bring in less expensive drugs from other countries that are safe, like Canada. In Minnesota, we can see Canada from our porch. Less expensive drugs that they have over there. And I will, as president, be able to get this done. Some of these things you can actually do yourself. I have this without Congress. I love Congress, but we have a 100-day plan that I put out there months ago about 137 things you can do that are legal without Congress, not legal criminal. Is that you laughing, Fran? Anyway, there are these, and the reason I think that is so important, yes, we have to get these things done, but we have to bring trust back in our government again, trust of one another and trust of our leaders. Education, I think we should be connecting what is going on in our economy with our education system. And we were just talking, Steve and I, about the trades, how important that is. We are not going to have a shortage of MBAs in this country, just so you know. We are going to have a shortage of electricians. Yeah. I usually say plumbers, but for him I said electricians. In fact, we are going to have a shortage of 74,000 electricians, shortage of almost that many plumbers. We're going to have a shortage of over 100,000 nursing assistants in the next 10 years that we have no way to fill right now. Shortage of over 1 million home health care workers. So the answer to me is, one, make it easier to go to 4-year degrees, whether they be public or private, by doubling the Pell Grants, doubling the eligibility levels for families up to 100,000. That would give you 12,000 a year. And then make 1- and 2-year degrees free. Those are the fastest growing degrees. And then finally, be very clear that we have to respect the dignity of work. So that means not only making it easier to go to school, it also means respecting the work of those who we need to fill the jobs, like home health care workers. It means increasing the minimum wage. It means making sure that we are paying our public teachers, yes, enough, but also the people that work in the schools, like the janitors, like the receptionists, like the people that are doing the work. That means child care, means all these things. We can do this. We just have to make sure that we put a president in that's going to reverse a lot of those things that Donald Trump did. Example, the tax bill. It added over $1 trillion in debt. And I can tell you what he did. This has been proven. After that passed, he went down to Mar-a-Lago and he said to all his friends, were any of you there? I didn't know. He said to them, you just got a lot richer. Yeah. No one was there. No, I bet no one was there from all of Council Bluffs, to tell you the truth. No one was there. So what I want to do instead is come to Council Bluffs and say, you know that work that you were doing with your high school, because I went to one of your high schools, you know the work that's doing there, I want to make it easier for you to make sure these kids have a career path. I'm going to come to this room and say, we finally got child care, universal child care, like we need in this country. I want to be able to go to your biofuel plant, like I did with the great Cindy Axne. Promises, like Donald Trump did when he did there and said, oh, I'm not going to do any more waivers. And then he went to Washington and granted 31 more waivers to the oil companies. That is what he did. So I think we need a leader that can look people in the eye and tell them the truth. They don't have to agree with everything I say. But if you talk to anyone in Minnesota, I don't know, what are there, 5 million people? Call anyone you know. Not all of them voted for me, but they will tell you that I'm hardworking, that I have people's back, and that is why I've been able to win in every single congressional district. Yes. Not once, not twice, not 3 times. Not just in Minneapolis, where we had the highest voter turnout in our state, in the United States of America, sorry. But we did that with a fired up base, but also in that district that borders Iowa, right? That 1st congressional district. I won every time. The one that borders North and South Dakota. And yes, I won in Michelle Bachmann's district. All 3 just going where it's comfortable, but also going where it's uncomfortable by bringing people with me. And I think that is not only important to win this election, but also to govern. Think of all these challenges we have, the flooding that you've had in this area. What happened to Fran's house, where she lost that kitchen that she loved with the light coming in a house that had stood there for nearly 100 years, where there was horsehair in the plaster. And when I was making that case for climate change on that debate on Saturday in LA, yes, I talked about the fires, or Thursday, come on. I talked about the fires in California, but I also talked about the flooding right here in Iowa, because we have to make that Midwestern case when it comes to climate change. But we are not going to be able to do these things unless we win big. Because if we eke by a victory at 4 a.m, I can promise you that state that we win is not going to be Iowa, if that's what it's like. Instead, we have to win big. We have to take the work that brought Cindy and Abby to the House and flip the House and bring that out across the country. There is every reason to believe that because they've done such a great job, with your help, they are going to be reelected. And that we are going to be able to make sure Rita gets in Congress. We're going to have 3 women out of 4 in the congressional district, and that we win in JD's district. Explain how we have a Democratic governor in Louisiana. We do. We have a Democratic governor in Kansas. We just did that with Laura Kelly 2 years ago. What? But you think I'm not? One of the things about a speech, you kind of try to rise to a crescendo. And then sometimes you'll have crowds that don't try to preempt you. Like maybe in Minnesota they'd be like, oh, no, but not here in the back room. Whoever you are, and yes, we won in the state of Kentucky and the night before and campaigned for the opponent. Donald Trump. So my question is, where can we send him next? So don't tell me you can't do this. But so that's what I am talking about when I'm talking about winning big and bringing people with us. And the way we do that is, yes, this is an economic check. It is about the infrastructure he promised that he didn't deliver. It is about the pharmaceutical prices that he did not deliver. It is about the rural economy, where we've seen a 25% increase in farm bankruptcies, to the point where Grassley and I had to pass a bill in the last year to make it easier to keep operating while that, and Donald Trump signed it into law, but he never had a bill signing ceremony. I don't know why, about farm bankruptcy, but he did not. But all those things, those are economic checks on this guy. But there is more going on than that. It is a decency check. It is a values check. It is a patriotism check. It is about soldiers and veterans who have fought for our country to protect democracies. You go back to World War II, right? That was about protecting democracies. But then we have a guy who, when he is asked in front of Vladimir Putin at an international conference about Russia invading our election, he makes a joke about it. That was cyber warfare. He makes a joke to Vladimir Putin. Think about those hundreds of thousands of Americans that lost their lives on the battlefield, standing up for democracy. Think about those 4 little girls in that church in Birmingham, Alabama, innocents, lost at the height of the civil rights movement, just because people were trying to expand that democracy and other people were trying to take it away from them. This is about our very democracy. And when I think about this, I think about some of those voters that stayed home from our own base in 2016. They came back and fired back and came in 2018. That is true. I think about the independents and the moderate Republicans. You have 31 counties in the state of Iowa that voted for Barack Obama and then flipped to Donald Trump. 31 counties. There's a lot of people that we have to reach out to in those counties, and we will reach out to them on rural issues and economic issues. But we also have to remember this decency check. For me, it's like a rancher in Minnesota, and this was my first glimmer of all this, who told me that he was taking me on a tour of his cattle in an ATV. It was super scary, like really big. That's gonna be it. And then everyone left, the press, and we went inside, and he said to me, we voted for Donald Trump. I said, what do you mean, your family? And he said, no, I don't like to say I. He said, I did. And I said, okay. And then he said, but then I saw him stand in front of the wall. I go, do you mean, no, there wasn't a wall, there's no wall. He said, no, I mean the CIA wall. He said the wall of those stars for those agents that died in the line of duty, anonymous names. And the day after the inauguration, Trump actually gave a speech in front of that wall. And it was a highly partisan speech about the size of his crowd in front of that sacred wall. And this guy had seen that. Then he said, then there was a Boy Scout speech. And I said, when Trump gave a political speech to all those Boy Scouts at that rally. This guy says I was a Boy Scout, and that's when I knew what I had done was not patriotic. It was the wrong thing. I won't do it again. Or the people in New Hampshire, I was in a group of voters there. They were in a line to talk to me, and they all had these stickers for some reason. One said, "I'm a climate change voter. I am a Supreme Court voter. I am a reproductive rights voter." And this guy comes by, he has his brown jacket on, and I said, "Sir, you don't have a sticker." And he says, "That's because I was a Trump voter." These are my neighbors, and they don't know. Don't tell them. He said, "But I am not voting for him again." That is what I'm talking about. And for them, it is a whole bunch of different things. But in the end, they want a president where they can turn on the TV, even if they don't agree with that president, and have the kids watch her on TV. And if they don't agree with everything they can watch her. And I will end with this. This is the best example of this, is actually an Iowa. During those McCarthy hearings, and for people who are too young, I wasn't even alive for them myself, some people were, but that was when Joe McCarthy, the congressman from Wisconsin, decided to go after people. He claimed they were on lists, and he went after them for their views, and he got them blacklisted so they couldn't work, and then he held these hearings, and no one would really stand up to him. And then there was a guy from Iowa. He was the son of immigrants. He grew up in Primgar, Iowa. He went to Grinnell, and he became and rose to become the Army Council. And he was the one, his name was Joseph Welch. When those hearings were going on, that guy, who just like the little boy in The Emperor Has No Clothes, who says the emperor has no clothes, that guy was the one who stood up and said, "Have you no sense of decency, sir? Have you no sense of decency?" This is that moment, this election, where people are asking that of themselves. They're asking that of that president that we have in the White House. So I will leave you with this profound thought. People are with us in their core, but we better not screw this up, okay? We better not screw this up, because we have a chance to win and to win big. And you know my case. I have made it to you. It is getting late, and I want to have a beer. But what I will ask you to do is, it is Saturday night. It's the holidays. You're wearing funny sweaters and hats. And in Iowa, the ultimate compliment, is you are in my top 3, right? Okay, we are on our own, quote, insurgency, right? We raised, after that debate, $1 million from regular people online in 24 hours. You have more endorsements of elected officials and former elected officials than anyone in this race. People that care about what's going to happen to the Iowa State House and State Senate. People that understand that we cannot leave the Midwest behind. My husband is the third of 6 boys. His mom and dad had 4 boys, and she wanted a girl. She got pregnant again and had identical twin boys. He was always a quiet one, the third one, He was on the debate team and everything. And when they lived in a trailer home with triple bunk beds. And every summer they would go on one vacation in their station wagon, and they would pull up to a gas station, and they would all pile out, and the story is that maybe, it's now sort of like, well, maybe, but once, not maybe twice, they left him behind at the gas station, drove away, and then they started counting off the boys in the car. So I can tell you this, when I had upped his ticket, both in a campaign and when I'm in Washington, we will never leave the Midwest and Iowa behind at the gas station. So, I am asking you tonight, why not sign one of those commit to caucus from it's the holidays, we never remember what happens the next morning. The holiday party, just sign one of those cards. Because Lauren, where's Lauren, our state director? Yeah, there she is. Lauren from Brooklyn, Iowa. She always is tracking to me who signs those cards and lets me know. So it would be just so helpful if you do that. Because we have 40-some days left. We have this incredibly important impeachment hearing. I don't know when I can come back. I may have to Skype in. This debate in Iowa, we will find a way. We have to have it. It's going to be really important. But I've got a constitutional duty, and you know how important that hearing is. It is very important for our country, because we've got a guy that basically put his own interest, his partisan interest, just like Nixon did in Watergate, where he basically hired people to go and break into a file cabinet and break into the Democratic headquarters to get dirt on a political opponent. That's what this is. A paranoid president up for election does the same thing, but worse, calls the world leader. And it is our constant duty to go forward. And if anyone asks you about it, you say to them, excuse me, he said all these people can exonerate him, like his acting chief of staff and Mr. Bolton, who have all this information about withholding the aid, who actually ordered it to be withheld. Then why won't he let them testify? Richard Nixon had Dean, remember all that? All this stuff. He let them testify. It's Trump that's holding back. So I'm going to be doing some of that in the next month. But I have faith in the people of this state that you understand that people have a constitutional duty. So I'm asking you to sign those cards. And I'm asking you to remember, top 3 good, but my favorite story was Kay, the former mayor of Cedar Rapids. And we had this long breakfast this summer, and at the very end she said, I got some real good news for you. I go, oh yeah, Kay? She goes, I am 78% with you. But then, guess what? She went to 100%.
Right here, and you're going to come out that door, so you loop around, maybe grab a glass of wine or something to eat while you're waiting.
All right.